This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends. So we're going to talk about everything that's been happening with everyone's favorite MOBA-style battle game. The thing that we thought was going to happen on December 11th actually happened a couple of days ago, a little bit earlier than we expected, and that's actually good news for us. December 4th patch, much better. We get a lot more to talk about. Pre-Season 3, the items have come out, some of the changes to mechanics have come out, the mastery
UI.
changes, the UI. It's all come out pending some balancing. Nami has not come out yet, but she will be coming out hopefully very soon.
I want my mermaid!
Merman.
Dad.
Oh, we already made that joke.
Moving on.
But yes, we're going to talk all about these cool new items that we have been waiting to talk about until they actually came out, finally. So we're going to jump right into it. I would say by far the most popular item that I've seen is Leandri's Torment. This is, of course, the item that's similar to Blackfire Torch, builds out of Haunting Guise. Very cool item. Adds some cool effects to champions, and it has a cool new thing where it deals double damage if the target is slow. This is made for some really horrifying Teemo play.
In anybody that builds Rylai's and then into Torment, it's just silly.
It's really mean on Rise.
It is.
Really mean.
It's really mean. There's other champions it's really singed.
It's singed because it's all AoEs. It's mostly AoEs. It's not that huge, but it's still pretty crazy. But that was the most popular. Another ones I've been seeing a lot, of course, the new Tiamat, Blade of the Ruined King, and Banner of Command, surprisingly enough, and Runin's Hurricane.
You know what? Not many people are building Serap's Embrace, which kind of surprises me. That's
Well,
really good.
I've been playing around with that on Vagar, and it's really nice having extra buttons to push.
Yeah, it's very nice as a support. Whenever they jump on you, you're just like, I'll sacrifice 15% of my mana to guard myself so they focus me while my team just murders them.
It's a really good item. The ones I have seen the least, by far, Twin Shadows, Ohm Wrecker, and what was the other one?
I haven't seen any of those jungle items.
You know, I actually haven't either.
I've seen people look at them and, like, in pure disgust and then build something else.
No, they still stick with Wriggles. You know, the Sight Stones are really cool. I've been trying to encourage people because that true damage on that one, plus 50 AD, that seems really nice. The Tenacity one is garbage, of course.
Sight Stones?
Yeah, that's what they're called. Oh, I'm sorry, Spirit Stones.
Yeah, Spirits, though. Sight Stones are like the wards. I'm like, why would you be encouraging jungle to get Sight Stones?
But anyway, the true damage one is good. The other ones are kind of crap. But, I don't know. It's another item with Spell Vamp, I suppose. So you can't really argue too much with that.
Sight Stones are fantastic. There is a bug on them right now where if you place down 3 wards and then refresh your cache, it refreshes the wards so you can put more wards down than required. Because
Wow.
I don't know if this has just been in my experiences or there's going to be a quick fix on them, but as of right now, I've been able to put down like 6 wards with the normal Sight Stone. So
It's craziness. Other items have been kind of cool. Zephyr, I've seen be fairly popular. And, of course, Mercurial Scimitar and Ravenous Hydra. Let's kind of talk about how they impact the game, though, besides their popularity. Obviously, the biggest thing I kind of want to talk about, the thing that I'm a little bit frustrated with, is the across-the-board nerf to ability power. Ability power totals have gone down a lot.
a lot.
Probably close to around 10, 15, even 20% in some cases. And they sort of pigeonholed APs into having to build either a Landry's Torment or Lament or whatever it's called, or a Deathfire Grasp. DFG was recently changed to be a fairly good item, giving it a magical amplifying effect. And because you have less ability power, you have to get one or the other. You have to get Landry's Torment if you're a DPS caster. If you're a Burst caster, you have to get DFG. And while you may be saying, well, hey, wouldn't you probably want to build these items anyway? Yes, you probably would want to build them anyway. It amplifies your damage. It's very nice. But the fact that you have to rush these items to be a good, consistent damage dealer is very discouraging to ability power play. I mean,
it's very discouraging to anybody that's playing a mage that has a lot of AoE effects like Brand and Rise and stuff like that, because they're putting out less damage because they have to focus on dealing burst damage, and their burst damage is reduced because of their AoE effects. So when they go into fights and stuff like that, they're putting out less damage than they did before because of the fact that all these items are trying to synergize them into single targets.
Yeah, and this is really upsetting because this is the thing where they talk about every, they said earlier, we were sick of having every build having to do the same things. They were sick of having one build for bruisers, one build for AP, and one build for support. Now there's many builds for bruisers. There's lots of cool stuff for AD. There's lots of cool builds for range carries. There's lots of cool builds for jungle.
Support.
There's lots of cool builds for support and tanks. There are 2 builds for AP. You can go either a bursty flat AP build with DFG, or you can go a penetration progressive damage with Leandri's Lament. It's really sad to see casters pigeonholed this way because we lost a lot of our ability power and we lost a lot of our options. Things like Athenes, it's just not good anymore. You can't really get a whole lot of AP out of certain items. Our penetration totals went down. The amount of penetration options that are available for AD is much less than for AP. I mean, people say, build a Malady. Auto-attacking casters isn't really a thing unless you're Kale or Fizz, maybe even Oriana. But if I'm playing Syndra, I'm not going to be auto-attacking someone with Malady,
There's no point to it because you're focusing on your spells. You're a glass cannon, essentially. That's what a mage is.
And so I have to get DFG on Syndra if I want to kill someone now instead of, just pecking them from far away and then blowing up with my ult. And it's upsetting to me. But that's one small thing, and I hope they fix it. They need to broaden the options for AP. But let's move on to the other roles. AD, of course, got a lot of cool new options. Tiamat is so much fun. Blade of the Ruined King. This is one of my favorite items from Twisted Tree Line. It's back in the game. It's a lot of fun. The total cost of flat AD went down while attack speed went up. So it's opening up a lot more build choices for characters that previously you had to get the meta goal to do well. Now there's lots of cool things you can do. For instance, you can go for a Mercurial Scimitar. Is it Mercurial? Yeah, it's Mercurial. It's crazy. Mercurial Scimitar is an awesome item. I love Ravenous Hydra. The lifesteal changes are really cool because it discourages that sort of turbo sustain that a lot of characters have. Vayne gets a Doran's Blade and a Vamp Scepter, and all of a sudden you can't push her a lane.
Yeah. I love Miramana. Urgot just became so much better, especially with the way that you can get, Tear of the Goddess faster, and you can build that up, and then you can get Miramana faster. And it's just so much fun when you just activate it, and you're just like, I'm taking more mana per shot, but I'm just taking a quarter of your health each time.
I know. The coolest part about Miramana, in my opinion, is that instead of just saying on auto attacks, it also affects spells. So even when you're sniping people with Urgot's shot, you're still getting the burn with Miramana. It's so neat that they did that. But other cool stuff for AD that came out, Zephyr is, of course, a really neat item, a really good tenacity choice for a lot of characters that maybe didn't have one before.
They brought out a lot of tenacity items in this patch.
They removed a lot, and they added, I think, 3.
Yeah, they removed the original 3, kept the boots. And
so there's the Spirit Stone that adds it, there's Zephyr that adds it, and there's Merc Tread that add it.
I think there's one other, I'm not sure. But I could be wrong. But yes, it's just kind of nice how they remove them off items that no one ever buy and put them on items that actually are useful.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, those items that they brought out with tenacity were bad. They were early game items, and they didn't go anywhere.
That's a shame. But Zephyr now actually has a good choice. Since you only really want to build one Phantom Dancer, Zephyr's your second obvious choice. It's a very good item. The Spirit Stone, if you're jungling and you want to be kind of a tanky guy, that's an obvious choice for you. It gives good tank stats. It's very nice. And of course, Merc Tread's always a good choice.
What do you think about Crystalline Flask?
Crystalline Flask is stupendous, especially on characters I often have to buy a lot of potions for. I've been using the heck out of this item on Darius, on Susan, even on characters like, let's say, Vigar. Characters that I usually want to buy a certain amount of pots for, just to keep me in lane, because, I have a little bit of sustain, but I need to amplify that to get maybe some mana back. This is a great choice. It burns 1 slot and gives you 300 effective health and 120 effective mana. I wish they'd bump the mana up a little bit, but I think it's a great item.
I agree with you on this, especially with support characters like Janna, where they don't have a heal that isn't her ultimate, so burning her heal would just be useless in normal poking situations. Having the Crystalline Flask is fantastic. So is Sightstone. Both those items put together just make her very, very useful. She can focus on other items while continuing with putting out the wards and continuing helping her team.
Well, now that we're on support, let's talk a little bit about the new support items.
Oh, the support items. We have Sightstone and Ruby Sightstone. These items give you health and give you essentially free 60-second wards?
3-minute wards.
3-minute. Oh, no, that's
the 60-second ward is the one you can mastery for.
Yeah, that's the mastery one. But the essentially the Sightstone says you get 4 charges and you can put out up to 2 Sightstone or wards at a time. Well, the Ruby one gives you 5 charges and you can put out 3. So this builds into Sightstone builds into Ruby Sightstone, giving you a bit more health, and it's just great because it gives more money towards other items. You invest the 700, and you can invest in other items while still being able to put out a good amount of
more items like Mikhail's Crucible.
Crucible. Oh, I was getting into that one. This one builds out of Chalice and a Mana Crystal. And essentially, it is an activated Quicksilver Sash on an ally and heals 15%.
Well, not quite a Quicksilver Sash. It removes CC, but not all debuffs.
It gets them out of hairy situations.
Indeed.
But it gets rid of, like, if someone engages on your tank and they put down a lot of heavy stuns and stuff, you can activate that, give them health back, and be able to retaliate very quickly. And it just gives you the armor resist, or magic resistance, and MP5 of Chalice, so very, very nice.
What about a more robust sort of support? What sort of things do they have to look forward to? I heard Runic Bulwark's a good choice.
Runic Bulwark is a fantastic choice. It is very expensive, but if you're in those really long games where you need to get that extra armor and stuff like that, upgrading your Aegis of the Legion up one more step, giving that extra stat to all your allies, makes a large difference, especially like in a 50-minute game, 60-minute game, or even earlier on. If you can invest money into it, it's fantastic.
As I understand it, they removed the AD from it and added HP per 5.
Yes, they did. They also, I think they got rid of the, no, they didn't remove the cooldown on that. I am wrong about that. That's another item I'm thinking about. But yes, they did get rid of the AD, but they increased the defense on the item. So it is a lot heavier on the defensive end. We also have Shard of True Eyes, which
builds out of Kage's, doesn't it?
Kage's, and what else does it build off of? It builds off of Mana Manipulator. And what this does is it essentially makes a small little Anivia slow field around an ally for 4 seconds and decreases the movement speed by 30% for 60 seconds. It is so nice. Again, if they jump on an ally or an ally's trying to get away, you're able to just pop that on them and they're able to slow, or if you have a very tanky champion like Malphite or Maokai or a jungler, you're able to pop that on the jungler. He's able to jump in there, and he has an AoE slow, which allows the allies to catch up.
My favorite thing about this new item is the fact that it retains its GP5 effect.
Yes.
And it also is relatively cheap at about $1,700 for its total cost. It builds off of Akagi's and Mana Manipulator, like I said before, both very cheap items and very, items that you might suspect on a support. The AoE is actually very, very large.
It's massive.
It's a little bit bigger than, almost
think about brands.
Oh, it's bigger than Wukong's spinning attack. So it's a very large thing, and it's great for initiators and everything like that. But support items, there's a lot of cool new stuff, a lot of great things you can pick up, a lot of things that can upgrade out of what you previously had. Now let's move on to tanky items. Tanky items are something that got a big look at. And a lot of them, unfortunately, aren't too crazy. New Warmogs, I know a lot of people are not sold on. Wrecker, I have seen literally 0 people use. Iceborne Gauntlet, a lot of people, this is the item I was most excited for. And most people feel it's far too gimmicky and the stats are way too out there to really be worth it on too many characters. So it's been really difficult, especially with all the armor pen changes, for tanks to really find a spot. Because there's so much armor shred, we get 30% from executioners, 30% from executioners. So 200 would be down to what? That'd be 140.
Yeah.
Then you get 40% off from masteries and 45% from masteries and Last Whisper. So that would knock them down to what? Probably about
Math isn't my forte.
probably about 40, maybe 50. And then you get flat armor pen. I've had up to 57 flat armor pen as Garen. So if I got a Last Whisper, an executioner's, not an executioner's, but a black cleaver, I could have 0 armor against a tank.
Yeah.
They would have 0 armor against me. It's insanity that I can shred through 200 armor with 2 items and a decent mastery page. It's insanity.
And really, since the removal of Force of Nature, there isn't really much as far as defensive.
Well, not quite. They made
they move stuff around.
Yeah, they made Spirit Massage more robust in terms of magic resistance, and Runic Bulwark actually gives 60 magic resistance, so it's a great choice for tanks.
Yeah, but Runic Bulwark is what 3,200. 3,200.
If you can get an Aegis Legion for about 2K, and that's 40 MR right there. I mean, if you get a Runic Bulwark on your tank and a Runic Bulwark on your support, you're running around. That's a 90 MR item all of a sudden. So it's a pretty good investment, I would say. But I mean, there's a lot of good MR choices, and the thing is, there's not nearly as much MR shred as there is AD shred. So MR is not nearly as important as it used to be. It's still a relatively expensive stat, but you can get MR and trust it. Whereas armor, tanks are having a lot of trouble with all the armor pens. So I think armor pen is going to get changed a lot, which is unfortunate because armor pen is really fun. I can do it on Garen, you can do it on characters like Wukong and maybe Pantheon that previously struggled, but now with this armor pen they do really well. But then characters like Darius and Riven, characters that were strong with base AD, are now getting impeccable results out of this armor pen, and results that they really didn't need, whereas other characters did need. So it's kind of a drag.
At the same time, it's just suffering because I know they've been trying to focus people away from the really tanky champions up top, and so this is like their counter to it. But a lot of champions like Malphite are just going to suffer completely because he depends on armor.
Mm-hmm. And they just made it very, very difficult.
They just put him in like the League's veteran hospital where he's sitting there in a chair crying slow.
But one of the cool parts about all these new items is it has changed the meta slightly. I mean, I've been playing around with some of my friends. I think we're going to try and do a role replay where we do duo top and we literally just destroy this game because it's just against the meta everyone's used to. We've got all these items to make it effective that we can do something out of the ordinary and be really effective.
This happened last night where it was against us, and it was very hard to counter this. We had a Teemo up top. I was bottom with a support and an AD carry, and he was middle as a Veigar. And we just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, no, we won all our lanes, but then they got to, our
7 minutes in, they got to our inner top turret in 7 minutes, and it was a Soraka and a Pantheon. Or no, it was a Nidali.
Yeah, Nidali and a Pantheon is very difficult to fight. But I think this is going to bring about a lot of changes. I've already seen a lot of kill lanes. I've seen some AD mids. I've seen a lot of cool things that have been enabled because of these new changes.
I'm happy to see AD mid. I'm really happy to see some more
AD
mid.
Yeah, no. When I first started playing, Ashe mid was the meta.
That was the meta. And like every time I'd see an Ashe, I'm like, I want to go bottom. Like, no, go middle. Go middle.
You need the farm.
We need that arrow at level 6. Go!
See the Ashe. I mean, you can even see that in things like McRooster Dota, where you have the Ashe mid and she fires the arrow bot. I mean, it's really funny to see throwbacks like that. But a lot of cool stuff with the items, guys. A lot of items got taken out and changed.
We'll have our tribute next week.
We have a goofy thing coming up next week. But if you want to see the full list of changes, check in game or go to League of Legends preseason website. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Talks all about the items. Another thing that's on there is the mastery pages. We're going to go over these real quick for you guys.
Kind of talk about the standing perks on each tree.
Well, as a side note before we get started, these mastery changes are really interesting. The defensive tree they made really, really cool. They made each tier of the tree feel really compelling, and you really have to make tough choices about what you want to get.
I feel that
in each tree. It's really difficult.
I feel that in offensive and in utility as well.
No, I disagree completely.
You know,
I completely disagree with you. Like you actually make tough decisions here. Like, do I want more tenacity? Do I need more health? Am I going to go for more resistances or less slow reduction? Whereas in offense, it's like, hey, are you AP? Here's your AP ones. Here, are you AD? Those are the AD ones. There's one build path for AP and AD in the mastery trees. In utility, there's some difference, but it's mostly, do you have mana? This tree's great for you. Do you not have mana? Oh, that's too bad. There are very few choices for mana-less in utility, which is really lame, because they used to have things like, hey, you want some bonus energy? Here you go. They had a lot of cool gimmicky stuff like that. Now it's like, hey, do you want move speed out of combat that's garbage? No. Well, it's that or mana. You're like, oh, I have no choice. Do you want time spent less dead? Do you want wards? It's like, I just want the move speed and cooldown reduction. You're going to spend 40 points in this tree to get to that. So I really feel like utility is kind of a letdown for characters without mana. And I feel like offense it's got two paths, AP or AD. And the only difference is do you want attack speed or do you want cooldowns? Nice. That's the only tough choice you have to make in the offense tree, and it's a tier 1 choice. It's really kind of silly. But defense tree is awesome, and I hope they bring that sort of tough decision making
to the other
over to the offense tree, because the offense tree is flat stats for each. Utility tree is gimmicky stats unless you need mana.
And gimmicky perks.
Yeah, but offense, I hope they change it from being flat stats to being kind of cool stuff like the tree is.
I like Spell Sword.
Spell Sword is again, that's the only tough choice you have to make in addition to tier 1. It's cooldown or attack speed or Spell Sword. And Spell Sword is cool, and it works great with Malady. And I love getting Spell Sword on like Sintra, on Veigar, getting a little bit of extra teeth and making your last hits even a little bit easier. It's so good.
It's so good on Fizz. If you don't know what Spell Sword says, it says it's 1 perk. It's on the 4th tree down, and it says, by stacking AP, this new mastery adds more punch to each basic attack. So essentially, you're doing ability power.
That's 5% of your AP to your auto attacks.
And that's stupid. With Fizz, that was just it's silly. And it just that was one of those things. It's like a lot of AP hybrids just don't get that extra.
Well, yeah. And like I said, you have 1 point floating around that area when you're AP, and you can either put that into having an improved ignite or having Spell Sword. So it's a tough choice. And I often pick Spell Sword over it. And it really helps with my last hits, and it gives me a little bit of oomph when I'm auto-attacking in between cool spell cooldowns. But like I said, I'm disappointed with offense and utility, and I hope they bring that sort of really cool defense decision-making to those two trees.
Well, there's a few things in the utility tree that's kind of I've been kind of fiddling around with. The first one is Pickpocket.
Pickpocket's great, but it's so high up in the tree.
It's so high up. As a support, I play Sona, and Sona has the passive where I have the auto-attack thing. I'm playing around with it if it's worth it. You know what I mean? Because I do use my harassment tool and stuff like that, but I just don't know if it's good enough. I haven't seen much of a change to it. And every time I harass, I get 3 gold, but I'm not auto-attacking enough to make it extremely worth it. If this was Leona or if this was, another tanky support champion, that might be a little bit better for it. But I think range supports like Janna, Taric, well, maybe Taric might be a little bit better with Pickpocket, but a lot of those range supports aren't really.
Well, think of it this way: do you put 4 points in greed when you're playing a support?
Some
most of the time when you're playing support, though, right? Well, that's 2 gold every 10 seconds. This is 3 gold potentially every 5 seconds, even if you don't attack every cooldown. Let's say you attack once every 10 seconds. That's 3 gold every 10 seconds rather than 2 gold. So that's already 1 point. That's better than 4 points. So I think it's a really good point talent.
That is true,
but the thing is, you have to be in lane to use it, which is the unfortunate part.
Yeah, where it's not like a passive thing. You have to be considerably offensive, and as a support, you don't want to be too offensive, or else you're going to be cut out. And that's one thing.
I think it's much better for ranged support, like let's say a Lulu or a Soraka or a Sauna. But Leona, Blitzcrank, maybe not. Go for it. Who knows? Maybe if they made the ICD a little bit less for melee characters, like for instance a Blitzcrank or a Leona, if they're standing there auto-attacking, they can get a little bit more oomph out of it, whereas ranged can get that sort of...
Definitely with like a Leona, I can see that being very good. Yeah. The next 2 I've been thinking about is Biscuiteer which grants a regenerative biscuit that restores 80 health and 50 mana over 10 seconds, free at the beginning of the game, as well as the point afterward, Explorer, which gives you a free 60-second ward on Summoner's Rift or 25 extra gold in another thing. It's interesting.
See, I like the Explorer ward because you can combine that with Scout.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you have this, it's a sort of a short duration ward, but you get that 25 increased vision range off the bat, and you can kind of use that to be kind of dickish in their jungle. You can really get a long distance view with Scout plus additional other things, and I don't know, it makes for an interesting change. The Biscuiteer, you had some interesting things to say.
Biscuiteer I like to begin with, mainly because it's a free pot at the beginning of the game, and especially in the early games, it gives you the mana. That's what I like more about it. It becomes a free mana pot for you. So as a support, like Sona or Soraka, which early game is very heavy in the mana, you're able to just kind of pop in there, and you already have your pots, but you have a free one that lets you get that little bit of advantage against like a tank lane that didn't invest in Biscuiteer and Vision Ward.
I've seen Biscuiteer be very popular on AP mids. They go all the way down in the offense tree, and then they go all the way up in Biscuiteer, taking all the mana talents. And this lets them get a Doran's ring and a biscuit, so that way they have a pot plus a biscuit, so they can sustain a little bit.
Well, essentially, it's 2 pots in 1.
It's half of a mana pot and about 2/3 of, or not 2/3, but a third
mana
of a health pot.
But it's very noticeable early game. It's saved me quite a few times, and we've been able to get a little bit of an extra assault in with this extra bit of mana and health.
You know, I love getting it on Karthus and on Syndra because I go a Doran's ring on there, and I get all the mana sustain I need with that Doran's ring and the new effect Doran's ring has, plus the cool new health I get from Biscuiteer. So I think it's a really good choice, and I like it, but I just wish they bumped the health up a little bit.
Definitely, and I gotta give a shout out to Total Biscuit getting his name on it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, Total Biscuit got finally put in the game, and Athene got his stuff knocked onto the ground. Athene's is so bad. Took 30 AP off it. It's garbage now.
Athene annoys me, and I'm so glad that TB actually got something that I can enjoy.
Yeah, it's in the game. It's really neat.
Yeah, but last thing we'll talk about is the summoner spells. A lot of revisions and stuff done to them.
They removed Promote and Surge. They moved Promote onto an item, which we talked about a little bit. It was the Banner of Command. They added Barrier, and they changed a couple of masteries. Exhaust now reduces attack speed and damage by a flat amount. Clarity is a little bit better, and it reveals a smaller area, I believe.
It's a smaller area.
The cooldown's a little shorter.
Yeah, they dropped the cooldown back to time where it used to be, but it's a small area, so it's not very abusive.
Mm-hmm. The Clarity, they changed it to be a percentage mana, so it's a lot more effective. Heal now heals you and your allies for the same amount, so it's actually better as a support tool rather than a save yourself tool. Flash's cooldown was increased significantly. Ignite's cooldown was increased significantly. And Revive, the move speed buff, was built into it, so you don't have to talent for that anymore. The cool thing I like about the new summoner icons is that there's a special thing in utility where you can spec into having reduced summoner cooldowns, and there are certain items that reduce summoner cooldowns. Like the boots, I usually run TP Flash on Susan, and so being able to spec into having reduced teleport time, having a 225 teleport, so cool.
Also, I don't know why they put Flash on those boots, by the way. Those are...
I have a 210 Flash when I spec into it with those boots. Oh, it's such an advantage.
Okay, I forgot to talk about this when we were talking about the new items, but there's an enchant, the enchant that gives increased movement speed to allies running towards you and gives Captain. Okay. Sona push lane. It is so stupid with Sona because her aura works with minions. And Champion works and stacks on it. I've gotten a minion to go about 500 move speed, and this was a promoted minion, and so I got it.
Jeez.
And so what I also do is I run super fast, so I run in front of my allies and then turn and stop, so they boost in front of me.
Turn on the turbo!
It's like a slingshot. So that's if you're running a push lane with a support, that's one thing you should probably do if you're running like a Sona or something, where you can just juke in between lanes and just kind of push them forward and kind of keep the pressure on them, which is really fun.
Yeah, it'd be nice. You get Shirelias and Team Captain, and you just boost in front of everyone with Sona. Like, hey, come back! The turbo after.
Your champion has to be facing them.
They have to be facing them.
Running toward, I don't know. I've still got to experiment a bit more with it because I was watching them.
I thought it was just running toward you.
But I think,
I don't know. Worth noting, guys. Maybe try out some cheesy move speed builds. Who knows?
But all this is on the main front page, and we're gonna be moving on to some other news coming out this week. I know we're running very long.
It's just a couple of minor things, guys. They're talking about a brand new gift giving system. Maybe being able to trade your skins or buy RP/skins, runes, whatever for other players. Still in the preliminaries, guys. We have no idea what's going to go on, but I hope I'm able to trade maybe some of my cooler skins to some people for some legacy skins maybe I missed out on.
Definitely. What they're talking about is they're saying that they're trying to make sure that people aren't being ripped off or getting our characters hacked and stuff like that and losing all of their important stuff. So they're trying to make sure it is safe to use as well as being useful.
So we'll see how that goes.
But they're saying the main thing they want is gift giving for the Christmas break.
Yay!
So
another crazy thing coming out. New Shaco skin to celebrate Korea's first League of Legends anniversary. Korea has had League for over a year, and they've made a big splash in the competitive scene. And to celebrate that 1 year, they are releasing a cool Shaco skin that everyone will be able to buy. Very cool stuff. Guys, definitely take a look at it. It's over at surrenderat20.com. There's a video with it that I do not understand, but take a look. Eternium Nocturne and Arclight Varus came out. There's a cool video for Eternium Nocturne, I believe, and it's a very neat looking skin. I've seen it maybe once so far, but the emotes for it are very cool.
Nami's splash art for her alternate skin is out. It is Koi Nami. She has a very nice red and pink color to her instead of the normal blue. Very nice change of pace. They kind of changed some of the effects. If you want to check that out, there's some videos floating around. And finally, the one thing everybody wanted us to talk about is I Will Dominate is being banned for a whole year from all events and from League of Legends. All his accounts have been permanently banned.
Well, yeah, because of some of the rulings in Tribunal. He's been there 9 times, and he's been ruled guilty 8 out of those 9. Pretty serious charges for a competitive player. A lot of people are outraged that a competitive player would get knocked down. A lot of people are saying this is BS. He got convicted 8 times. He should be permabanned. Why should he get special treatment?
They kind of, I have to respect Riot on this one, where they had to take a firm stance on it. This is a pro player that went onto the normal servers and harassed other players because of the fact that he was a pro player. So they had to punish him in a way that would make a notice to all other pro players, but they didn't want to punish the whole team permanently, so they gave him a chance to come back, but making a very, very hard term. A lot of people are saying that this is just Riot acting babyish, but I feel that this is exactly what the game means, where all the pro players in Dota that insult other people get away scot-free, and they act like they're superior to everybody else. If you normal queue, you got to play by the rules just like everybody else.
And the player, he put up a post on his website, I believe, but he was very gracious, and he said he apologizes for his behavior and hopes to come back a much more calm and collected player, which I think is good. People often kind of lose their heads. I myself, I get very upset in League games. Water will tell you.
But don't play with him. Don't play with him.
It's easy to be remorseful, but it's even harder to change your behavior. So hopefully he will learn some things when and if he comes back. But that's it for official news this week, guys. We're going to be moving on to our own section. Unfortunately, since we are running a little bit long, guys, we're only going to have time for one question this week, and it comes from Omega Heartless. He says, totally going to do Jungle Rocco. Why? Why must you guys put this idea into my head?
Because we're cynical bastards.
We're Satanists, and we love nothing more than hearing the murmurs of dead children in the night. That's it for questions this week, guys. We love, love, love questions every week. We try to answer about anything. This is a really great question. Pineapple. This is a really great week for questions, and so we would love you guys if you asked us about maybe some of the new items, some of the cool new comps that are coming around, anything about League really, about us, about the show. If you have questions about the new meta or what the new season means or anything like that, we're really happy to field them. LostForge.net is still up. We're getting out content slowly but surely, guys. We got the new reviews out for different media, if that's your sort of thing.
We also have a Facebook page if you guys want to keep up to date without constantly checking the site. I'll be updating that with every update, so you guys can check that out. It is Facebook.com/Lost Force will also be a link below. And that's really about news.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back and play some LOL, so I will see you guys later. Goodbye. LostForge.net.